I just got a few notes here, and if you don't mind, I'd like to read just a little statement, and then we can proceed to questions. I should really start by thanking our owner, Eugene Melnick, and my team for their support in setting up for the future of this rebuild. I really want to thank our head pro scout, Jim Clark. Without him, we wouldn't be doing the great trades that we're doing for our future. His staff, Rob Murphy, Mike Abamont, John Purpich, Steve Sterling, and also our head amateur scout at Trent Mann, who's been here for the past few days, all helping out with making sure this rebuild is on the right path. I think it's important today to thank Mark Stone. We've seen firsthand how much he's invested in becoming the remarkable player that he is today, how he's contributed to our community, how much he means to our team. I'm sorry we couldn't convince him to stay. At the same time, we're thrilled to welcome Erik Brannstrom to Ottawa. In addition to being an exceptional young man with great leadership skills, high character, high talent, his presence on the ice is electric, and I'm confident that our fans will love him. We're also happy to have Oscar Lindberg as part of this trade, someone who's going to bring valuable experience to our lineup, and hopefully he'll be with us for years to come. We want to pursue this rebuild the right way. First, we're going to ask our veterans to lead. We're going to lead on the Pajot, the Borowickis, the Smith, the Cece's, the Ryan, the Andersons, the Tierney, the DeMello, to show the young guns the way. Second, we're going to invest in developing our young players. In addition to Shabbat, Kachuk, White, Brown, Batherson, Balsers, Willanen, Jaros, Harper, Chaplik, Hogberg, Gustafson. On top of our prospects, Formington, Bernard Docker, Tyconic, DeCord, Nurmi. On top of the additions we've made this week, Abramov, Davidson, Duclair, we're going to give them all a very big chance to succeed. Third, we have a great opportunity to leverage our pipeline of talent, prospects, multiple picks, to deepen our talent pool, improve our draft positions in years to come, and attract players who buy into our vision and dedicate themselves to our organization and community. I understand how frustrated some of our fans feel. In time, however, we trust they will remember that one time ago, Phillips, Redden, Spezza, Neal, Havlat, Hossa, Fisher, Alfie were just prospects before they took us on an amazing run. Thank you for your time.
Lisa Wallace, Canadian Press. Pierre, I guess the question is, why is it so difficult for this organization to keep players of star quality, guys that you've developed, like a Mark Stone, Ryan Dzingel, and just in looking back in the past, even a guy like Erik Karlsson?
Well, the one thing is, when you're talking potential contract extensions, it's the player's right if they want to stay or not stay. We've made it clear through this process of these four players that we're in a rebuild, and it's their choice. We tried to sign all four of them. All four of them were offered contract extensions. And it's not that the fact that people want to stay or leave. I think it's the fact that it's their choice, and we have to respect that. That's the CBA. Our job here probably is to instill a culture where people want to stay here, grow here, and win here. And at that point in time, you'd have to ask them, because we felt that we went through the wall to sign these players.
On that note, when Mark Stone spoke to TSN just after learning about the trade, he said one of the things that he liked about Vegas was ownership's commitment to winning. So is it that potentially players don't want to stay here because they feel there isn't that commitment? I mean, how do you respond to that comment?
First of all, I'm sorry. At least I didn't hear the interview with Mark Stone, so I apologize. All I can tell you is that all the players knew it was a rebuild here. All the players were offered a contract to be here. I don't think it has anything to do with ownership. Hockey operations makes all the decisions here. An example of that today is I think I phoned Eugene after the trade was done. I didn't talk to him all day until it was done. I think the best way to say it is that we're trying to build a culture here. We're trying to build a team here, and we want the players that want to stay here, and we're hopeful to attract some players as we move through this rebuild.
Now that you have acquired all these assets, how quickly can you move forward to try to get this club back to respectability?
Well, obviously, through any rebuild, there's going to be some growing pains. We're seeing it this year. But a lot of these players are going to be given the chance to be a big part of our success. And I think you're going to see players take the bull by the horns, and you're going to see their games grow. And we feel that as early as next year, we're going to see a great improvement in our team with the growth of our younger players. We're not going to say where we're going to be next year, but we feel that we're going to be vastly improved next year with the growth of all these players and the players that we've acquired.
It's a long way off, but do you feel like in the summer you'll have to kind of bolster your veterans, though? Because one of the things you guys had stated in September was that you were hopeful you'd keep these guys and kind of use them to build the team around them. But they're not here anymore. Are you going to have to?
No, but the fact that these guys aren't here anymore, I think, just gives the opportunity for some of our young players to get more ice time and to produce more with that ice time. It gives a chance to some of the other veterans that we have a chance to step up and produce more. So we feel really confident about the direction that we're headed.
From Sportsnet. Just going back to, I know you said off the top there, leaning on veteran players here moving forward, but I'm just curious, you mentioned the culture you want to develop here. How do you go about that then, where you've looked at your top 3 goal scorers have been shipped out the last 4 days because of, you said, it's their right to the CBA to move on and opted not to sign contract extensions here. So how do you go about building the culture here moving forward?
Well, I think if you were in the dressing room, and I'm not always in the dressing room, if you're around the team, we have a lot of character players here. And I think they're going to be relied upon more. It doesn't mean that our highest scorers were our highest character players. What it means is I know other players will have a bigger word to say in the room, even though all 3 guys are great guys and high character people. Sometimes other veterans' words can resonate more in the room. Yeah.
Bonjour, Patrick Friolet, RDS. On ne vous a toujours pas entendu en français. Simplement dresser un peu le constat, non seulement des derniers jours, mais des derniers mois pour vous et le fait d'en arriver à cette conclusion-là, le constat que vous dressez.
Non, je pense que pour la reconstruction de notre équipe, on est très content de la direction que l'équipe s'en va dedans. Pour nous, on est déçus qu'on n'a pas pu signer Mark Stone, mais pour nous, c'était bien important d'aller chercher un joueur aussi électrisant qu'Erik Brannstrom. On est très content de l'avoir avec nous en ce moment. Ça va être un bon pilier pour notre défensive avec Thomas Chabot. On est très excités d'avoir ces 2 joueurs-là pour plusieurs années à venir. Donc, pour nous, on sait qu'on a beaucoup de vétérans. On sait qu'on a beaucoup de bons jeunes joueurs. On sait qu'on a de super vedettes qui sont en train de progresser dans l'alignement ici et à Belleville. Et on sait qu'une fois que tout ça va être mis ensemble, qu'on va être une équipe très compétitive.
Dans le processus de reconstruction, est-ce que vous aimeriez reconduire votre entraîneur dans ses fonctions justement pour participer à ce truc-là, ou est-ce qu'il est encore trop tôt pour répondre à la question?
Guy, c'est notre entraîneur. Je pense que personne ne va être en désaccord avec moi que j'ai fait son emploi énormément plus difficile dans les dernières semaines avec tout ce qui arrive dans l'environnement de l'équipe. Before I move forward, I just was asked about Guy Boucher, and I think it's probably best for me to repeat the answer in English. Guy's our coach. I don't think anyone will disagree with me on this one that I've made his job pretty difficult in the last few weeks, and we're going to support him.
Pierre, pour Brannstrom, est-ce qu'il va passer le restant de la saison à Belleville? Est-ce que tu penses le rappeler d'ici la fin de la saison?
Pour le moment, j'ai parlé plus tôt cet après-midi et puis on a nos indications qu'il va commencer à Belleville. Et c'est une nouvelle organisation et on va voir son cheminement, mais il est très près de la Ligue nationale. Et je peux vous le dire de mes propres yeux, l'avoir vu jouer la semaine passée à Winnipeg lorsque notre équipe était là. Mark asked a good question here. What's the plan for Erik Brannstrom? The plan is for him to start in Belleville right now. Belleville's in a strong playoff push. We believe that all these young players playing together, it can only be beneficial for this organization. And I personally can attest, our scouting staff can attest, we got the chance to see both Peter McTavish, my assistant GM, myself, with Jim Clark, our head pro scout, all got the chance to see Erik Brannstrom play not this past Friday, but the Friday before in Winnipeg, and we were truly impressed by his level of play, his skill level, his puck-moving ability, how dynamic he was on the ice. Every shift he was out there, something positive happened. And that, for a 19-year-old in the American League, is pretty special.
Question, Pierre.
Oui.
Tu es un grand amateur de baseball. Est-ce que tu penses, ça se compare à ce que tu as
Les
fait?
Expos reviennent dessus?
C'est ça, je t'ajuste un peu.
I said, are the Expos coming back?
Est-ce que tu penses que est-ce que tu te sens un peu comme le GM des Expos en 95, justement, quand ils ont laissé appeler Mary Rocker et compagnie?
C'est une bonne question, Marc. J'aurais mieux aimé être le gérant des Expos en 94, mais aucunement. Je suis tellement excité aujourd'hui d'avoir fait l'acquisition d'Erik Brannstrom que mes mots, peut-être mes actions ne peuvent pas vous montrer comment que je suis émulé en extase. Tu sais, on parle au baseball de a 5-tool player. Erik Brannstrom, au hockey, c'est un joueur à 5 tours. Pardon mon anglicisme.
Encore en français, Elisabeth Rancourt à TVA Sport. On parlait de Mark Strom, à quel point c'était un pilier dans l'équipe qui a beaucoup donné à la communauté. Les joueurs ce matin ont juste du bon pour lui. Est-ce que c'est difficile d'expliquer aux partisans qui suivent un peu le processus de reconstruction des Sénateurs, d'expliquer qu'un joueur comme lui, aussi important dans la communauté, ne voulait pas participer à cette reconstruction-là? Est-ce que c'est ça qui a fait qu'il ne voulait pas signer? Qu'est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire là-dessus?
Non, je pense que Marc peut plus répondre à ces questions-là que moi. On a fait notre possible pour pouvoir le signer, mais il faut qu'on respecte sa décision, il faut qu'on respecte le processus. Et puis, lorsqu'on a vu que Mark Stone n'était pas pour signer avec nous, on a pris la décision qu'on devait aller chercher le meilleur retour possible. Et puis, je peux vous dire aujourd'hui que je suis énormément content du retour qu'on a eu pour Mark Stone.
Pierre, Callum Fraser, NHL.com. Two questions here. One, would it be fair to assume that because of the healthy scratch last night with Cody Ceci, that he was possibly in the works for the trade? And then two, because of that healthy scratch, does there need to be a conversation with Cody to restore confidence with the organization within him?
Well, I think first, I made the call for Cody to be a healthy scratch. Definitely wasn't because of how he's playing, because Cody's been above and beyond what we've expected out of him this year. You know, logging a lot of minutes, you know, with the loss of Erik Karlsson, being asked to play a lot of nights against the other team's top lines. So that was my call as general manager, because we had to protect the organization, because there were possible discussions. I plan to talk to Cody tomorrow. I'm flying to Washington. And, you know, I think Cody is as professional as they come. He's a good person. He's from Orleans. Pretty much everyone from Orleans is a good person. So I'm sure that there's no damage there, and we're going to move on.
At what point did you know that you wouldn't be able to re-sign Mark Stone and that a deal would have to be made?
Well, our last meeting and our last discussions were probably last year's discussions were this past Friday. And we started this process. If you want details, I'm not afraid to give you details. We couldn't really do a contract until January 1st. His representatives were in Sweden from January 2nd to the 9th. We had meetings from January 6th or 7th to the 13th in Florida. We offered them to come down to Florida if they wanted to talk. On January 14th, we went to meet with them for the first time. And then through this process, we had meetings that no one knows about. And we respect Mark too much as a player that we were never going to make anything public. And we were down there again at their offices, if I'm not mistaken, this past Wednesday. And, you know, we exchanged proposals, and probably on Friday would have been the day that I would tell you that we knew that probably Mark wouldn't sign here. And it wasn't by lack of trying, but at that time we knew we needed to move on. And we'd had some preliminary discussions with some teams, and those talks heated up over the last few days.
Guillaume Lepage de LNH.com. Hier, Keith Ketchuk a dit que Mark Stone avait été très efficace dans son encadrement de Brady. Vous avez parlé beaucoup des vétérans. Est-ce que les vétérans vont suffire pour encadrer les jeunes? Est-ce que le groupe de vétérans va être en mesure d'arriver au même travail que faisait Mark Stone?
Sans aucun doute. Notre groupe de vétérans, on a un excellent groupe de vétérans. Puis, c'est pas encore où on perd un ou deux vétérans que les 10 autres ne vont pas pouvoir ramasser le travail de ces deux-là.
Est-ce que l'équipe devient en quelque sorte l'équipe des jeunes? On a parlé de Brady Ketchuk, de Thomas Chabot. Est-ce que c'est vraiment sur eux que vous allez construire?
L'équipe reste l'équipe de tous les joueurs de cette équipe-là. C'est 22, 23, 21 joueurs jouent tous pour eux-mêmes et pour les Sénateurs d'Ottawa.
Chris Stevenson from The Athletic. There seems to be so much cynicism in the marketplace right now over seeing these players depart. What assurances can you give fans that when the Thomas Chabots and the Brady Tkachuks and your next wave of guys who are expected to be stars of this team, that you're going to be able to keep them?
That's part of the rebuild, Chris. We feel that when those players are in their prime, we're going to be a contending cup team. And all these players are going to be part of this rebuild. And what's encouraging is these players are going to be in the prime of their career. And we have no intentions in moving any of them. And they know we can control them for, you know, different players for many years. And they are going to be here. I don't know what else to tell you. One thing I can tell you is I think we have to tell our fans to be patient, but the what's the expression? The pot of gold at the end of the road is pretty big and pretty good. The rainbow, sorry if I'm not very good with expressions, it's pretty good. What we've been able to do in the last 12 months as far as our rebuild, we've acquired some quality pieces. And I will go on the record today in saying the best piece we got is today. I can't express to you how, as a hockey group, we're so happy to get Erik Brannstrom. I can't tell you those pro scouts that were in there, assistant GM, myself, we all saw him personally. Saw him at the World Junior be an all-star. We saw him at what a player of his caliber at 19 years old can do in the American League, not many have done. And we are excited about it. And me, as a hockey guy, I'm elated about it. I know today, when I brush my teeth tonight when I go to bed, and I'll look at myself in the mirror, I'll say, that was a long day, but we did something good for the Ottawa Senators today. And I'm convinced about that as much as I'm convinced about anything else. That maybe even the Expos would have won the World Series in '94. Thank you. Again, merci beaucoup pour votre patience aujourd'hui.